right, gang. We are joined once again by special guests on this week's edition of Squawk NC's. Yeah, there we go. That's the name of our show. I lost it for a second. We're gonna keep that in because who cares?
You got this.
We've got in one of our fellow squawkers, one of our friends on the front lines, world's qualifier, card collector, and everybody. Honestly. One of the few natural good forces to keep us all in check, or otherwise we would all fall apart at the seams. It's our good friend Omar Taha. Omar, how you doing, pal? Thanks for coming on the show this week.
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, George. This podcast, you guys are killing it.
Oh, thanks,
man. So
Wow,
I figure, yeah. Now someone's got to buy
Rodo.
There we go. We're having a great time so far. So yeah, Omar, we consider we're at the end of a format. We're having a bit of a little bit of time. I figured it'd be a good time to have a guest on. So for those uninclined, why don't you give the people your elevator pitch as to who you are in the Pokemon community at large? What do you do here?
Oh man, elevator pitch. All right. Well, how about I jump into how I got into Pokemon? And
there
I'll
you
tell
go.
you guys a little bit more. So actually, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, not competitively, just for fun. So don't think I'm one of those, tapping on the desk type of people, even though we joke about it. But during COVID, my little brother actually, he was like, "We have so many Yu-Gi-Oh cards downstairs, and it's just collecting dust. Let's sell it." So I was like, "Hey, why not? Let's sell it." So we ended up selling those cards, and my mom loves ripping packs. This is something you guys know and every squawker knows.
Mm-hmm.
So she randomly is like buying like Pokemon product. And I'm like, "Why are you buying that? Like, there's no money in that." And she pulls this like Suicune GX Rainbow Rare from like one of those like dollar store packs, $1, whatever.
Wow.
And I'm like, "This card's $70." I'm like, "Whoa, hold up." So then that's how we started getting into Pokemon, like collecting. I used to play the games, like loved the anime, like all of that as a kid growing up. And then eventually we did a build and battle. Me and one of my friends, we went to Time Warp. It was literally just me, him, and the card owner. Just three of us. And he gives us Brilliant Stars build and battles. And he goes, "Yeah, like I'll teach you guys how to play the game. There's really nobody else here. Like it's like what, COVID time, post-COVID time, like right about." So I open it and I pull Arceus V-Star. Couldn't use it though. And I was like, this is kind of fun. So then that's when I downloaded PTCGO or whatever it was called at the time, that client. And yeah, I was hooked. It was bad. I was really hooked. I was playing like a Gengar VMAX deck. Yeah. I was like, man, this is fun.
Wow, another Gengar VMAX enjoyer. That's like the very rare Gengar VMAX enjoyer. We have two of them on this podcast.
Wait, who's the other?
Kyle.
Me. I love Gengar.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a really funny story about how me and Omar became friends. So again, I started going to our local shop in Clifton, around the time that Silver Tempest came out. So my friend who remain undisclosed right now, but I have a friend that works at the Pokemon Company, and he. He's like, "Hey, listen, like, if you're looking to get into the TCG, I know you've been looking around, like, buy these products and I'll teach you how to play." And I'm like, "All right, sick, both feet in, I'm there." And like, I went on Limitless and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to play like the top tier stuff. That's just because that's like the kind of guy I am. Like, I don't like to always play the meta stuff. I like to play what beats the meta stuff, or I want to be a weirdo," which will tie back in nicely in a second. So I remember I looked up Zachary Cooper's first place Gengar VMAX deck from I forget what region. I want to say it was Salt Lake City regionals for whatever that COVID season was. And I bought all the cards to play Gengar VMAX, and then I found out quickly afterwards that, oh no, this deck stinks now. This deck that was good for maybe 45 minutes became an absolute like pile soon after. And Omar doing what Omar does best in the FTG group chat. It's like, "Hey guys, I got a lot of bulk stuff I'm trying to get rid of. Is anybody interested in any of these cards?" And Omar just happened to have all of the skeleton stuff to build one of my favorite rogue decks of all time, Moon Rocks, with the Lunatone and the Soul Rock.
Yes.
So I messaged Omar. I'm like, "Hey man, like I want to take all this stuff. Like, how much is it?" And you were just like, It's on the house, man. Don't worry about it. So Omar was my gateway drug into playing rogue decks,
Wow.
pretty much. And yeah, that's how we became introduced. George, you have a comparable Omar origin story?
I mean, not as sentimental as that, but you actually told me, Kyle, to go to Dragon Eye for a challenge, and I never played in a challenge before. So my first opponent ever in a sanctioned points event was Omar, and he had a mask on because Omar used to always wear a mask. And I was like, "Oh, this guy is like afraid of COVID." What the heck? Later on, I find out he just wears that so he can have like a poker face, and you don't know what he's doing. Which I'm like, oh, that's actually
it was
smart.
both reasons.
Okay, all right. Well, either way, right? And I was a big lost box enjoyer, which is like the number one rule that they tell all new players: don't play lost box. But me being the stubborn player that I am, of course, I'm like, no, I'm going to play lost box. So he flips over, and we're playing, and we're just pretty much going flower select, pass, flower select, pass, and we ended up tying. But in the middle of it, I pull over Tropius, and he's like, "What is that?" He's like, "This man is cooking." And like in my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about, right? So then I think he told like Harold at the time. He's like, "Yeah, this guy's playing Tropius." And I think it was also like Kevin Angel, right? And they're like, "Oh, like he's teching for Tyranitar," and I was like, "I don't know what you guys are saying," but that's what I was doing at the time, and. I would say that's like when me and Omar became friends, but that's when we first like learned about who each other were. And then I don't know exactly how we became friends. I think me being obnoxious and loud all the time. That's pretty much it. But I don't know. Do you remember? I don't even know like how we like.
I think Toronto is probably when
Toronto,
it sparked because like. George would hit me up on Facebook here and there because he wasn't at all our locals, I don't think. At least maybe I wasn't attending all the locals he was. So I didn't see him that often. But at Toronto, we were just like, yo, why don't we hang out after this?
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, because I played at level 1 a lot. And then I played a Highlander a lot. I didn't play FTG a lot. And then I think after Toronto, you guys were like, why don't you go to FTG? Like it's a good event on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And then I started going there, and I think you're right. That's how it all happened. So
yeah, George. For those of you that don't know about George in Toronto, George stayed in a hostel by himself in Toronto for like almost what was it? You were there for like 4 days or something like that.
No, 3 days. 3 days.
3 days. Yeah, George. Because like again, like I wasn't really the only one that really like knew you like that because I would go to Highlander and FTG every week. So and like not everyone populates both those stores that frequently. So like. I knew who you were, and you were just like, oh yeah, and then you were just like, yeah, I just like walked around all night, like adventuring in Toronto, like after we'd already been out super late, and I was like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? So George is like, oh yeah, I didn't get back to like 3 a.m. or something like that.
You mentioned it earlier, like Omar's the one to like reel it all in. Who knows on these Pokemon tournaments? If I never became an Omar, what would happen?
Oh my goodness!
Because like we've talked about, like the group that we have Toronto right now, Omar's not going, and like I have to be the dad of the group, and that's very frightening.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it's good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Good luck. I think
Hamza and Matt. I think they'll rein it in a little bit. Hopefully,
who knows?
I don't know. Actually,
I don't know. Hamza might be very excited. Hasn't seen
that's true.
New Jersey crew for a while, so it's gonna be fun regardless. I'll behave.
Yeah,
and you have my location anyway, so
that is true. Yeah, George sometimes is freaked out because I'll be like, oh yeah, you're at like Quick Check before league, and he'll be like, why are you looking at my location? Because I have it. I don't know.
And I allow it to happen because that's the relationship Omar and I have. I trust him having my location because
you have mine. So
because who knows what will happen one day.
Yeah,
that's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's like in the DC comics when like Clayface falls asleep, he turns into Clayface. Like it's just like we need someone to like keep you like untapped.
Yeah.
We need something to keep you alive. But yeah, we'll keep the journey rolling here. So obviously, Omar, it always blows my mind because you have such like a vast collection of stuff, and it still
Thank
kind of
you.
like blows my mind that you've only been playing for like just a little over like 2 years. So like, did you after you did that build and battle, like how soon afterwards did you want to just like, was Worlds qualification always a thing for you? Did you just want to compete locally?
No,
Like, at what point did
no.
like the like that competitive gear like turn on for
Yeah.
you?
I think so. The first, I wanted to find a local store because Time Warp wasn't having locals. So I don't even remember how I found like Final Turn. It was called something else before. So I found it and I showed up with this like I think it was Arceus Inteleon or maybe just some Inteleon pile. And I just got destroyed. And I was like, you know what? This is never happening again. Like I was doing so well on the client online. And I'm like, in real life, I'm getting destroyed by real decks. Like, I gotta learn a little bit more. So I think that's where that competitive kind of spark happened, where I was like, I need to learn more. There's so many resources out there. Um, and yeah, that's just going to FTG more often, kind of, like Kevin, for example. I was like, man, this guy is going 4-0 every like week, man. I want to go 4-0. Like, what the heck is happening here? So I think that was just kind of the drive. And then for collecting purposes, it was just my mom ripping so much. I was like, you know what? We should probably like start master setting or something. So there's feels like there's a purpose to this, and we're not just, ripping cards and creating a very vicious gambling cycle.
So basically, again, just all voice of reason of like why, what you're doing. Like, let's make the most out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. And speaking of that voice of reason, like Kyle kind of brought up, like your journey, to becoming a competitive player, and you
Mm,
made it to Worlds. I think one of the coolest things anybody's ever done on Twitter is kind of document the financial risk and what it
mm.
takes for players to make a world championship run. Like, what inspired you to do that? Like, was it mainly for yourself, or was it for education for other players getting into the hobby?
I think it was for myself. That was goal number one. I remember the first regional that like everyone went to, at least like in New Jersey, was the Pittsburgh one. And I was like, man, I can't go because I'm getting married next week. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just go to this random cup. It's the cup that we all love, the Cinnamon Town one, and there's only
Oh.
8 players. And luckily, it was only 3 rounds, and I won, and it was still like 2 p.m. And I was like, wow, I still have the whole day to myself. And I think that was like the maybe I could make it to Worlds if I could like do well at more cups because I at that time they announced all of the steps to everything, and I wanted to keep track of the finances because I was like, well, I just got married, so it's a little hard to travel to everything. What if I did the bare minimum? And that's really not how you should go into just anything that you want to, fall in love with like, as a hobby or even competitiveness. So when I did this bare minimum kind of like spreadsheet, I was like 6 regionals, at most 2 ICs, and then as many challenges and cups as I could because that you don't really care too much as long as you're getting those placements. And then after sort of every trip, I would fill it out, and it was kind of. I think it was also kind of therapeutic at the same time because it was like, all right, I got this regional down. I did everything. Let me just like calculate it, do the like finances, and then once I see that total number, it's like, you know what, not too bad. I'm not down bad versus like not keeping track. And I think when I posted it, people got a little bit of transparency because I all the time like because I would used to talk to like Hamza and Matt the most out of our group like when we first started this group, and I would tell them like, guys, how are these people traveling to everything? Or, like, what are their jobs? Like, I feel like I have a decent job, but like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I was just like, after keeping track, I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense because like if you're cashing at these events, like it does make it a lot easier to continue to travel. So yeah, it just kind of put it all into perspective. I think that was kind of what I wanted to do. And I was glad that people, even if they didn't like it or they did like it, it was just cool to see people talking about the finances because I feel like nobody really does.
Yeah.
Just seems like everyone's on Medify making sponsorships, and yeah, you just never know. Like, are you okay? Like, are you able to
Yeah.
afford all these trips?
Yeah, no, I think that was really eye-opening stuff. And I agree. I've been someone that's not just in Pokemon, but I've been doing competitive gaming stuff for a long time, for almost over 10 years. And we asked those same questions in the Smash side of things too, where it's like, there's people that I've heard horror stories of where they, go to these tournaments that are in like hotel venues. They'll like sleep in the lobbies of the hotel to save money, or they'll sleep on people's floors, which like, I've been there before too. I'm never doing that again. My back would thank me. I'm in my 30s. I can't sleep on floors anymore. But like, I hear horror stories all the time of how people will just cut these corners just to compete. And it's just like at some point, like you have to draw the line between, passion for the game and like putting yourself at financial risk. Yeah. So I think I think for the people that are getting into it, like I said, you started as just a way for you to document, how much money, you might be going into red with. But I think a lot of people, gain some insight out of that. It's like, oh yeah, like these are things I should be documenting. So for the people that uninclined, what was like more expensive than you think it was going to be, and what was cheaper than you thought was going to be? Like where was a money sink that you didn't think was going to be as big of a money sink that ended up being like, oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I never calculated like decks and like how much those cost, but I feel like definitely Max Rarity. I had a phase that was definitely expensive. That I didn't keep track of, but that I feel like was something I didn't really take into account. How expensive it could be. Food honestly was interesting because again, like talking to our group, there was a correlation between who was on the trip and how much we spent on food versus who was
like who in particular.
Well, George and Hamza, for some reason, love the most expensive places ever in these like not unknown cities because they are like really nice cities. And then there'd be like a trip. I think it was like when we were in Toronto. We didn't really go anywhere like too crazy. And I was like, wow, we didn't spend that much food. Wait, we didn't really go out with George or Hamza. So it kind of like put that into perspective. The flights I think weren't too bad. Like the only flight that was pretty aggressively bad for me, I think it was Portland. I don't remember exactly the regionals, but it was kind of a last minute decision. I knew Michael and Hamza were going, and I was like, you know what, guys, I'm coming. And they were like, okay. And I told my wife, she's like, you're going to 3 regionals this month? And I was like, yeah, I got to. And I went, and I was like, I just spent $500 on like a flight that if I booked like 3 months ago, it would have been way cheaper. So I think plan ahead. Don't just jump into trips unless you want to, of course, have a good time with your friends. Like make that balance it out. The regionals themselves were pretty cheap, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't been, like you said, playing for that long, so I never have this like gripe with, oh my god, I'm spending like $60 to $70 on registration. Back then, it wasn't that much. To me, it's like I'm spending 60 to 70. I'm getting a playmat, a promo. I get to play rounds of Pokemon. I get to hang out with you guys. I see the value in it. I'm not too like mad about it, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think that was really it. Ubers, like at the end of the day, us splitting it all together wasn't too drastic.
I think also for me, like when I started splitting Airbnbs when we got as a group, that was a lot cheaper. So I didn't have to stay in like hostels to make it, more affordable. Because I mean, as we were talking about earlier here, I do spend a little bit more than the normal person. You guys always bust me for my financial gain in life. But I think it's just a great point to like show people, hey, listen, you can bare minimum this thing, and if you go with a group and you don't do anything and all you're there is to play Pokemon, this could be it, right? And then also when you do go with a group and you enjoy life and you take it as a vacation, this is what you can expect. And the way that I personally look at it is like, this is kind of when I'm taking my vacations, and I have the luxury that I work remote. So like a lot of times you guys go with me, I'm on the phone, Bob,
Shout out Bob.
Shout out Bob. And I'm always on the phone, during Fridays when we get there. But I think, we always go budget airline, like I think a lot of times we don't, like you and I, at least, Omar, never really had carry-ons, right? We're going with just a backpack. We're backpacking it.
That's true.
Rest in peace, Spirit Airlines. See, they are. God bless them.
Wait, what
I
happened?
still have credit with them. They
applied for bankruptcy this week.
Yeah.
No way. I just saw a commercial for. No, you know what I did see? Just off topic, Spirit Airlines like employees like arguing and like getting like into almost a fist fight at the terminal.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I'll have to say.
We better get on our 5 a.m. Spirit flights to New Orleans while we still can, guys, because I might not be around for much longer. So
yeah.
Go ahead, George.
No, I mean that's really it to like tie it up. Like I just think you can make the most out of it, and I think you're right in saying like you don't know what each player's career path is in life, where they are in life, their family situation, and how they can afford things. And it is a sacrifice if you do want to become a world champion in Pokemon one day. Obviously, the skill and practicing is one sacrifice, but the financial side of it is another thing. So, what do you think the total for an average player, if they wanted to make a world championship, they know that they would have to save the year before or the season before to be able to do it? What do you think that figure looks like?
I think now it might be a little different because it's top 125 for NA, but I think the average of like 8,000 to 10,000, I know that number sounds crazy, but like if you're traveling the whole year, trying to go to as many events as possible, even if it's bare minimum, like we're talking about. I think that's a good number to kind of aim for. I mean, I always say this, like I think I'm blessed that I know all of you guys because, like George mentioned, it did make like travel a lot cheaper. You know, staying by yourself in one place for like a regional like this, it can get really expensive.
Yeah.
And since we split like for NAIC, for example, we split an Airbnb, I think like 10 or 12 ways. Like, to be honest, that was not as bad as it could have been. So I think that's kind of the key. But I think 8,000 to 10,000 is a safe number. And of course, if you spend less than that, great. And if you spend a little bit more than that, well, at least you saved up to that point.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to look at it. You know, it ain't easy, you know, getting to somebody's place, especially now, you know, given how the system has changed, you know, from a flat threshold you have to hit to qualify to now you have to be in the top 125 of whatever rating zone you live in, or, you know, even less than that, depending on what game or area you're playing in. You know, and I think that really factors into how much people are going to be willing to spend. In fact, I might think people might be willing to spend more, given, you know, given that, like, okay, the more you go to, the more chances you have to kind of cash out at these things. But going back to your world's journey, I figured I'd ask you, you know, besides qualifying for Worlds in general, because we all know that was a big deal for you, to a very covert operation in and out in Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico,
which is a lot of fun. What was one of the highlights of that full competitive season for you, besides obviously qualifying for Worlds, because that's the easy way out. So I want to make it a little bit harder for you. So what were some highlights for you, you know, in that year?
I think, I guess a little background is I played a lot of online tournaments. So finally seeing some real life like placements was really nice. So it's crazy to always say this, but my first placement was with Miraidon, and I am a Guardy bot. So me switching over to that deck, it was actually because of Portland, because Hamza did zero practice, and he was like, I'm taking Sejun Park's list. And this man went 5-3-1 with zero practice. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just pick up a list and just play it? And I think that was a big highlight, is just feeling like, hey, I picked up a deck and I was able to do really well with it. I'd say my second highlight was, I know this is a cheesy one, but like meeting all of you guys throughout the journey. Oh. It's honestly kind of wild because I always say this, and my wife makes this joke all the time. She was like, last year was your whole bachelor party. Like you had like a bachelor party every single trip. And I agree. I think it was like every single time I was able to hang out with different people, depending on like the group that went. And then any other highlights? just always limitless checking Mike was really nice until he had his crazy quarter 4 where he just completely got like whatever number of CP with Charizard, and he was just like, yeah, I'm the best player. And I was like, all right, well, can't say anything about that anymore. So
he turned into him real quick. That last quarter.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like the scene at the end of Hercules when like he's about to die and they're about to cut his string, and then he like turns into a god all of a sudden. Like Mike got like close to 300 CP in one quarter. It was like nuts.
It all started at that cup in Cinnamon
Town.
Yeah, and he skipped church to
yeah,
win the cup, right? Something like that. Something crazy,
wild.
like
Insane.
No, but I think Omar, I think you're right. Like I would agree with you too. Like, you know, I didn't do anything great, but I remember that Maridon run. I think that was in Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was so hyped for you, dude. I was like, this is your tournament, right? That's when the motivational speaker in me started coming
I know.
out.
That's when I learned George's man, I don't even remember it. I have it written on my notes, but he had this saying, and he said it after every round. And after the round, no matter if I won or lost, I'd be like, George, just like he's saying Bob, Bob, Bob. I'd be like, George, where are you? I need the motivational speech.
Expect it, project it, select it, collect it. Expect
and it honestly helped.
Yeah.
I think going in, I think that's something I learned as a Pokemon player. It's really a mental game. Like, you have to go in feeling like you're prepared and ready to win, versus just going in and being like, it's all luck. You know, you don't want to walk out of there and be like, oh, man, they got luckier than me. I mean, there's a little luck, but that doesn't want to be the only thing.
There's for sure luck, but then there's also, you know, controlling the game as well. And I think that's what I actually have learned from you as a player, because I would always take things up to chance and do the riskier play, and I've kind of learned how to be a little more conservative and control my ways to winning. And like, I know, you know, we used to play Guardy mirrors all the time. And that's how I learned how to play the deck way better, seeing what you would do and being like, well, listen, like if I did this, then you would just beat me. I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's like, so I'm not going to let you do that. And I never really thought about it that way early on for me. So, I mean, you've been a great help in me just, you know, learning the game more. So I appreciate you for that immensely. But Kyle, I think there was just one other thing we wanted to talk to Omar about, and that's kind of, you know, where he's at now, where you're kind of taking a little bit of a break, taking a step away.
Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I knew I started to get better as a player when I wasn't getting completely blown out by Omar every week that I'd play him. Because there's like, you know, there's benchmarks. Like I went to FTG for weeks. I would be getting smoked. I tell the story all the time. When I played against our good friend Anthony Guevara the first week that I went, the first time ever I went to FTG, he was playing your beloved deck, Reggie's. And he was using the Reggie Lecky attack that like snipes the bench, and I thought he was cheating, and I was like, why can't I? Like, it was like a Seinfeld bit. I'm just like, but why can't I do that? Like, I was, but what if I want to hit the bench, George? Like, it's just like it's like I was having like a monologue with myself. He's like, no, you can't do that. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So like I knew when I was able to start like, you know, and you were, you know. Again, we all hang out. We're all friends now. But like before, I was like, okay, yeah, I could start, you know, hanging with Omar. Like, you know, once I started Mew botting for that small period of time before Charizard came out and ruined my life, like I was like, okay, I can hang with Omar. Like I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit better at this. So you know, you've in the same realm. You guys have always pushed me to be better and pick better decks and not meme on the weekdays, even though I still do it sometimes. Shout out Cloth.
Okay, though.
But yeah, so, you know, as that first competitive season came and went, you know, we won't talk about what happened at Worlds because, you know, you had a great time there, but it was a tough weekend for you, unfortunately. Yeah. But you are now sort of in this, like, you know, next phase. You've made it to the quote unquote mountaintop, and now you're kind of, you know, you're in sort of in off season for yourself. You know, we still see you all the time, but you're not competing to the same pace as you once were. So how important is it to take these breaks for yourself? You know, granted, you know, we don't know, again, we've never talked about out loud, but like, you know, do you have the urge to be on the world's grind again? Like, is that something you ever see yourself doing ever again? And like, you know, how important is it to take those breaks in you know, the long slog of a long season?
I think I could see myself chasing again if they changed it back to a number. I think it's hard for me, especially like my lifestyle, to visualize being this like top 125 and maybe seeing myself, oh no, I'm 127. I have to go to an event like this weekend or something. I don't know if I'd be able to manage something like that. So for right now, it's kind of just enjoying going to like weeklies with you guys. Gonna try to do NEIC at least this year. And then cups and challenges whenever I'm able to. And then for breaks, I think it's really important. I did feel like I was a little burned out. Like you guys always make that joke of like the 24-hour trip to Puerto Rico. I'm not gonna lie, that trip burned me out. Like I was stressed before. I mean, just for like context, I had like I think it was 550 CP. I needed 50 left, and it was top 64 Puerto Rico or NEIC. And the whole time I was like, is anyone coming on this trip? And everyone was dead silent. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to Puerto Rico by myself. And Harold was going to come with me, but this man needed like 20 CP or whatever the number was. So, like the stress of like, oh no, what like deck do I choose? Should I get like quick Medify coaching with someone? Like, what do I do? I think that really just accelerated the burnout because right after, thankfully, IDing for the last round, which secured like that whatever CPU was left, I was like, okay, I got it. The worlds ended up being like a finish line. And I think that's something I regret. And maybe, I don't know, it's like that thing that I always think about where worlds to me was the finish line, but people look at worlds as the first step to the finish line, which is, winning the world championship. But I think, overall, just to sum it up, like take a break. Pokemon will always be here for you. Like, as long as you have a good community, I think that's the most important thing. Don't take a break on that. Like, I think if I took a break and didn't talk to any of you guys, that would feel bad because that would be weird. Like, at the end of the day, you guys are all my friends. But it's like, if you take a step back from everything you've gained outside of playing, then I think that feels a little too intense. So I think just take a break from playing at your pace, still enjoy the community. The community's not going anywhere. Be on Twitter, talk to your group chats, whatever it may be. Still go to locals. Don't overburden yourself. Like if you don't get it this year, try again next year. I mean, that's why they always change the requirements, right? They want people to play.
Yeah, and like this upcoming weekend, we're gonna have like a group tournament, which is like always. I think those are more fun than going to cups and regionals, because it's just us competing against each other, and there's kind of like a pride thing on the line. But like even playing like there is,
That's true.
Whoever wins those things, it's like kind of big talking point. But I think just playing board games in general and like different, I wouldn't say video games, but more like board games, different card games that we like to do. I personally just enjoy it a lot because for me, it's kind of like a way to keep your brain sharp, And I think even if you keep playing Pokemon, not competitively, but like go to locals every once in a while, stay in the game. Like I think that's still really healthy. But if you do, like I think you're right, Omar. And if you really burned yourself out, grind it out, and the competitive part of it, you need a break from that. You should absolutely do that, and you should recognize when you need that. There's weeks where I'm just like, yeah, I need to just go hang out with friends that I've known my entire life because they're like, where are you all the time, And I'm like, yeah, I'll be around. Like I could be there, and it's just like a balancing act. So. I hate to not see you at regionals, but I truly understand, and I think it is a smart decision on your part. So,
yeah, I will say I do miss the trips. Like I always think about it when you guys are like planning the trips. I'm like, man. Well, NEIC, that's where I'll try.
Yeah, I need someone to wake me up for my flight at 4 a.m. again. So it's good.
I think
this time
it was me and Matt. We stayed up all night, or maybe Matt fell asleep. I don't remember, but never again. I'm definitely sleeping next time.
Yeah, we're listening to jazz next year. I'm flying on Monday. Like we're having a good time next year. We're listening to jazz.
Hopefully, it'll be less hot or less humid.
I hope so, man. It was so bad last year, especially because we flew it. Like I think it like thunderstormed like right when we got there. so the humidity was like off the rails. It was
You're
nuts.
talking about New Orleans, right? It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I had to step outside for a call, and it was like insanely hot outside. I'm like, where are we
Ugh.
right now? Like, there was just gigantic bugs everywhere too. I was like, oh, we're in for something different here. So
Yeah. Now, before we get into our next segment, there are 2 bonus questions I had here for
Ooh.
Omar that I thought would be fun because you are
Let's do it.
a collector.
Mm.
So I wanted to ask. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what is your favorite card that you have in your current
Okay.
collection? It doesn't have to be a Pokemon card, but because I know you collect a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah.
And the second question is, out of that whole year you spent trying to qualify for Worlds, what is your favorite deck that you got to play throughout the entirety of that stretch? So answer whichever order you seem appropriate.
So I'd say my favorite card in my collection. So for context, I collect what I like to call like prize and promos. So just any like trophy card from nothing crazy from like any TCG.
yeah.
It's Full Metal Alchemist. I have a champion and a finalist card from, I hope they're real, from this random guy on Facebook who sells like, I guess he was like a artist, like an illustrator back in the day, and he just has like a pile of these. So he was selling, I think, the finalist and the champion card for like 75 to 200 bucks. I think it was like a bundle or something. And I was like, let me get those, please. And yeah, I have it, and I hope they're real. Maybe one day we'll try to grade them and see if they're legit. And then my favorite deck, it's hard not to say Guardy. I think it was the deck that taught me the most as like a player. I used to play every single version of Arceus that you could think of. The rogue deck that I would play all the time was Arceus Corviknight, Arceus Pikachu, not too like rogue, but Guardy though, like it taught me prize mapping. I think that's really important as a player, understanding like, hey, if they take 1 and I take 2, I just win, right? Like it was something that just kind of clicked when I started playing the deck. It has a lot of options. Drawing so much, like that's where I learned thinning is winning. Like you thin this deck down, hey, I have boss next game no matter what you do. So it was like starting to learn those things, playing that deck, I think was really helpful and really nice, even though I could never really take it to a regional without tying so much. But yeah, I'd say that's like my favorite deck. And of course, there's always a special place in my heart from Rhydon because I always say this, that regional felt the weirdest. Our group literally went, let's play Moon or Miraidon. And then Kyle's like, I'm sticking to Lugia.
No, I played Cloth that weekend.
Cloth.
Oh, you played Cloth? Oh, my
Even
God.
weirder.
It's even
I wish I
weirder.
played Lugia that weekend. I bet I would have had way more fun. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's where you hit the 3 Urshis? Was it
That's
that?
when I hit 3 Urshifus.
And then it got even weirder at the Thirsty Beaver.
Yeah, it was
I was not there for
I
that
know.
one.
There was a part. Listen, man. I hope there's a Charlotte Regional sometime this season. I would love to. I need a T-shirt from that place. What a weird. That was a strange episode of the sitcom we ended up in that weekend.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. But also, real quick, are you a Brotherhood or an FMA original guy? Like, have you?
I've only read the manga. So I hope that answers
So
that
technically,
question.
you're a Brotherhood guy then.
Yeah.
Technically speaking. Okay. Good talk. George doesn't watch cartoons, so he
I
doesn't
have
know
no
what
idea
we're
what you're
talking
talking about.
George, I have, so before I collected Pokemon cards, I have volume 1 of a lot of different mangas. One day I will just hand some of them to you to start reading. Then maybe that'll get you into watching, no?
You have to know how to read first. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. You didn't learn that with your Metafy coaching?
No.
No, I just look at the pictures.
Got it.
We're trying to get Henry to teach him how to speak Spanish. That's so far. That's
I
not
know. I
working
just
out,
heard
so.
that on the past episode. He was like, "Hola, cómo estás?" And you were like, "Anything else?" That's it.
You're doing great, pal. Alrighty, so we are going to move into our favorite part of the show, folks. Everyone's favorite this or that question game, Squawk or C's, where usually it's me and George asking each other alternating questions of this or that, or it's now we just answer them together because we got tired of choosing. But this week we're going to put you in the hot seat, Omar, as our guest, and we preface this by, we not only we spend a lot of time together, we play a lot of Pokemon together.
Mhm.
We also all like a lot of the same things, and we all have a big fun for tabletop and board games.
Yes.
And I think it's safe to say that you have you have a taste for these sort of games.
Yeah.
So we're gonna throw you in a hot seat this week, and we're gonna squawk or seize some popular board games.
Okay.
So are
Can
you
I go
feeling up
first?
to the test?
Can I go first?
Yeah,
I'm
you can go
so
first. So
scared.
George, you have the floor. Omar, are you ready?
Yes.
I have to start with this one. One of my favorite games, I think one of your favorite games, Unstable Unicorns.
I think I'm gonna have to squawk now.
There we go.
I mean, I think it's like honestly one of the most fun games that I've ever played.
It's crazy that we all just show up to locals. It was me and Harold sitting down because you said let's all play last week, and we're all looking at the door every time it opens. Like, it's not George. It's not George. When are we gonna play the game?
Listen, Unstable Unicorns is a lot of fun. If you guys haven't, Unstable Unicorns is like an Exploding Kittens style deck building party game. Well, so check it out at your local game shop. I'm sure you can find it. It's a lot of fun. It's great. Don't play it around kids.
Please
well,
Don't play our version around kids.
No, do not play it.
There's a regular version, just not the version that I
got
have.
it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm just unhinged. That's what it is.
Yeah. So I will
Alrighty.
pitch you a bit of I guess a curveball here because
Oh man.
we'll see here. But we're gonna start with a classic on my end of the field. Are we squawking or seizing everybody's favorite financial board game? Are you a Monopoly guy? Squawk or seize?
Ooh. The problem is I'm always the bank. So when I'm always the bank, do I enjoy this game? I think I will. I think I'm gonna have to seize it. I think I'm gonna have to say get out of here. It's one of those games where it's like really fun, but it's a little too long.
It's very long.
That's my gripe. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever finished a game of Monopoly in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I always get so bored.
We used to play Monopoly for money, my friends and I.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it used to get really brutal because when people were like making sales in between turns, there was a lot of like tomfoolery going on. You know, like we would pay like $25 a person, 6 people playing, and they're like, "Well, listen, if you play that, if I win, I'll give you this much." And they're like,
No.
yeah, it got really bad really fast. So,
Oh my goodness.
I do love Monopoly though. I would have squawked Monopoly.
It's a fun game, but like I don't know.
I was playing Monopoly
I gotta
wrong
see
for the first
something,
like
right?
15 years
You
of my
gotta see
life.
something.
That's true.
Well, real quick, what do you like? What is your main like kind of colors? Like the colors that you need to like your non-negotiables if you're going to win the game of Monopoly that you have to go for.
Well, again, I'm always the bank.
Like mine are the reds. I need to get the reds. If I don't get the reds, I'm gonna have 0 chance of winning.
Kyle, I think it's because we've never played for money, so we've never had to think
Yeah,
about it this hard.
All right, all good. All right, never mind. I guess I really like Monopoly. Whatever, guys. So I'll go to a newer game as well.
Okay.
I don't know how often you play this, but this is also a game that I frequently play. Settlers of Catan.
I've never played it.
What?
Oh,
I've never played it.
Wow.
Is it? I've watched people play it, but I've never played it.
We might have to play on Saturday then.
I also own Catan,
Okay.
so it's fun. I've never been in this position to explain Catan to someone that's never played it before. But Catan
I know,
is
I know the premise. I
Yeah.
think, but feel free.
Yeah, so like for those of you who haven't played Catan before, you have like a map set up, and everybody has a resource that they need to like complete their part of to like get across their part of the map. I guess. It's been a while since I played, but
it's
one of those,
all resources.
Yeah.
You're basically just trying to take control of the map as much as possible, and there's victory points, and the victory points are what kind of is the reason that you win the game or take over the land. So Man, I thought that was a good one to put out there. So if you never played that, then I'll go to something else. I go something old school.
Ooh.
I'll stay in kind of the realm of the Monopoly Hasbro. Connect Four.
Oh, Squawk. You have to. That's not even a. That's a classic.
Yeah,
Can't go wrong.
I played a lot of games of Connect Four in like the Boys and Girls Club growing up. So
I love this origin story of George's all these like board games, a different little part of your life.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's a big reason why I love TCG so much. I was
Nice.
always when people sometimes went out to play kickball, I was playing board games at like summer camp and Boys and Girls Club and stuff like that. So
Nice.
There we go. Love that. Love it. Love it. Love a good happy ending. All right, we're gonna keep it in that same sort of realm here with one of my personal favorites. But I learned that a lot of people don't also like this game as much as I do. Maybe I'm just weird. Keeping it in the
Like 100
Hasbro
grand,
classics
so.
here. Yeah, I mean, listen, I will. Listen, I'll die on that hill. I'm gonna go buy Tootsie Rolls right after this podcast is over.
Oof.
And I'm gonna yeah, and I'm gonna spend the credit card minimum amount of money to buy Tootsie Rolls at FTG tomorrow because I know that container is still gonna be full when I go there tomorrow. I don't care. I'll be wrong. Me and Steven DeSancher are gonna die on this hill together. Yeah, well, shout out to this guy. Yeah, it's my friend's got it for me from Japan. He's my friend.
Oh, that's so nice.
All right, Omar. Squawker Seas Battleship. This is a game you've played before.
Ooh. I enjoy Battleship. I will squawk this one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't like this game. I went on a date recently and I recommended playing Battleship. And my date was like, I don't really want to play Battleship. I feel like it takes too long. And I'm like, does it? Does this game take too long? I never really thought about it out loud like that. We're also in a bar, so I feel like it was kind of like it was not a good setting to play Battleship in. So I wholeheartedly understand that. But I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, Battleship is kind of boring. But well, I'll go with this here.
Listen.
much-
I
so
think
much
it's a fun game when you're winning. So maybe Kyle just enjoys winning a lot. Maybe that's the thing.
If I enjoyed winning, I wouldn't have played Cloth to a regional. Let's just be real here.
All right.
B5, C7. Oh shucks, I missed again. All right.
Hey, there's like a new version of it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, where you have like different what is it, like different moves now that you can do?
I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't played it, but I'm
Okay.
sure it's fun. So
All right. How about we do this? Two classics, right?
Okay.
One you have to squawk, one you have to seize.
Deal.
Chess or checkers?
ooh.
I'm squawking chess and I'm seizing checkers.
Really?
I'm a chess guy. I love chess.
You love chess.
I'm not good at it, but at least I don't think I'm good at it.
Can you teach me how to play chess? Because I don't know.
Yeah,
how to
I would
play.
love to. It's one of those games where I just feel like it has a lot of strategy thinking. I always watch those like chess.com, pretty nerdy to see like how people play. I don't understand it, but checkers is one of those games where I don't know. Chess has my heart.
All right, hey, listen. I've always wanted to learn how to play chess. I remember back when I think it was when the Queen's Gambit was like all the rage, and my mom was like, I was like, let's learn how to play chess together. So then I got her a chess set and a chess book for Christmas.
Ooh.
And pretty sure it is still unopened in the shrink wrap in my parents' house. So I think I'm gonna confiscate it now and take it as my own.
All right. Well, maybe tomorrow at FTG, I'll figure out how I could transfer a chess set. Maybe one of Hamza's $400 whatever Pokemon chess sets, and we can.
Oh my gosh, Lord, those things are so expensive, but they're so cool though. All right, so we're in a similar vein. I'm going to give you two to one. You got to squawk, one you got to seize, because they're both sort of in the same realm. They're both word association games.
Ooh.
So squawk or seize, Boggle and Scrabble.
All right, this is gonna probably show that I know nothing. What is Boggle?
You never played Boggle?
Okay.
I've played Scrabble. Let me just quickly look up what Boggle looks like.
It's like a board that like pops up and like different letters come up. You have to like make words. Right?
This game I've never
Yes.
played, so I unfortunately will have to seize it. And
I hate
will
Boggle
have to
too,
Squawk Scrabble. I mean, Scrabble is just fun. There's like, I remember I used to play the mobile version with like friends, Words with Friends. Maybe it's similar, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is similar to that. Yep. All right, let me give you one more here. I was going off the dome, but let me look get a little reference here while you kind of look that up.
What's the longest word you can like recall from memory you put down in Scrabble and like got like a ton of points from it? I think I popped up with Twisters one time, and I rode that high for weeks.
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not that good. I'm one of those people that's like, as long as I play a word down, I feel good about this.
I played a lot of board games growing up, so like
Okay.
I'm a big trivia board game guy. That's one of my
Ooh.
favorite ones. One of my favorites growing up as a kid was we had this Disney, The Wonderful Life of Disney trivia game that I used to play with my parents all the time, and I'd always get so mad because they'd always win and I wouldn't. So I wanted that might still exist somewhere. I gotta find it. So
yeah. So here's one that I actually can't believe I forgot about. I played this a lot during COVID.
Okay.
Sorry.
ooh.
I might have to seize it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a sorry board game player.
I'm actually like okay with you seizing it. It's really not that good, to be honest.
Okay.
The only reason why I played it a lot is because there's only so much Monopoly and Catan you could play, and it was like the only other game that we had. So
That's fair.
yeah, I just we played a lot of Sorry, and it got super competitive. There is like some strategy in it, to be completely honest with you. But if we played, I would kind of metagame you guys a little bit, to be honest.
Oh, this guy.
Interesting.
Here we go.
Sounds like we're gonna have a board game night.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to make
the-
I know a lot of board games. I mean, I'm highly competitive, and I'm
Okay,
always
George.
I'm always down. I'm always down.
All right, this will be the last one for me.
right.
So this one's one of my personal favorites. It's not a board game technically, but it's a party game. So that's why I put the disclaimer in the note I sent you guys. Either of these variations of this game works, and I'm are we squawking or seizing the game of Mafia, everyone's favorite party game?
Squawk.
Let's
Period.
go.
There's
Let's
no
go.
Mafia is literally the best party game. Every time I'm in charge of games, I tell people we're playing Mafia. They say again. I say, get out.
You don't like it? There's a door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
It's just too fun.
You know what I should have
It is
brought
too
up?
fun.
My favorite game, Dominoes. I don't know why I didn't bring up Domino. I love
You
Domino.
know, to this day, I have not been able to play Dominoes with George because he was searching so hard that he spent 30 minutes with you guys. And I think a random 7-Eleven
was a
looking for
Walgreens
Dominoes.
in Orlando.
Walgreens.
Yeah.
But they could have had Dominoes. What the heck?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In Florida, which is the craziest part. Like,
Wow.
And mind you, Kyle, they come back and I'm like, so what did you guys end up getting? We bought a box of Oreos.
That is so
You're gone for
on-brand.
so long.
It's like you can't come back with nothing, guys.
And the
You gotta get
worst part
something.
is, did you guys like ask the Uber driver to wait for you or something?
yeah.
That's a George Herbert classic. That sounds about right.
That's something only a salesman like George can pitch to somebody working an Uber shift.
Hey, listen, drop us off this Walgreens. We're going to be searching for Dominoes. Just hang out for a while, all right? We'll tip you big, all right? We'll make it worth it for you, big guy, all right?
Oh,
All
my
right.
goodness.
That
I actually have one for you guys, plot twist.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
right.
Go for it.
This one, okay. Are you going to squawk or are you going to seize the cones of Dunshire?
What?
Oh, I'm
is
squawking.
that?
I'm squawking. George doesn't watch TV like I do, like you and me do, Omar. I'm
Look,
squawking to
yeah,
come to
Cones
Dunshire.
of what?
The cones of
Excuse me?
Dunshire.
I knew the minute Kyle said a Parks and Rec thing that I was like, I have to say this one. George, come on, man. You gotta
It's all
watch
about the cones,
TV.
man.
It's from Parks and Recs.
Yeah.
Like I've watched pretty much all of it. It's
Okay.
also one of those ones that you put on like at night, and if you fall asleep during it, you're like, whatever. It's Parks and Recs.
Fair.
But I don't know what this is. Is this something?
It's just. I think it's like it's just one of the characters like variations of. I don't want to like. I don't know. Just a variation of a board game.
Yeah, it's like it was a plot MacGuffin for an episode for
Yeah.
like a later season of the show. Like Adam Scott's character, Ben, like invented this board game, and it's like the B plot of like one of the episodes of like, you put like cones on your head. It's very funny.
Wait.
it's a good gimmick.
You can actually play this game.
I know
that. I
It's
didn't
sick.
know. That's wild.
There's two
Yeah, it's a player
wizards,
for
one maverick, one arbiter, 2 warriors, a corporal, and a ledger man. Basically, the scorekeeper gets to wear a hat.
It's so much fun. Shout out to Cones of Dunshire. I'm a big fan.
Well, listen, I didn't know what it was, but I will squawk after just reading that. That sounds awesome.
Okay.
So.
Nice.
We're gonna make this happen at one of these. At
figure
NASC, we're playing Cones of Dunshire, so marking it down.
I feel like
right now.
Highlander has so many like board games, right? Like
They did.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. So, all right. Well, that's gonna be it for our interview section. Omar, thank you so much for gracing us with your time. We always look forward to talking to you, and thank you for shedding some insight again. On the trials and tribulations of the world grinder. And listen, I know everyone's a big hot topic of conversation is how the system could use some improvement this year, and I hope we see a change back to an older system because we'd love to see you back on the grind with us. And someone's got to keep us in check because Lord knows we can't do it ourselves. So
It's facts.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me. Again, you guys are killing it on this podcast. It's great to always, just see you guys talking about everything. Instead of watching, all these other podcasts, I'm like, I'm just going to watch George and Kyle.
Let's go.
We
We're
appreciate
so
you,
back.
man. That's awesome.
So let people know where they can find you on the internet if they feel so inclined to check in with what you're doing.
I don't even know my own social media handles, but I think if you type in like Card Collectors OT, that's my Instagram. And then on Twitter, I don't really post much. You'll probably see me posting Neopets or Unstable Unicorn that was something I wanted to do where I'd be like some gym badges, but we'll figure it out. How it works. Maybe I'll steal George's loose packs and start giving them out.
Dude, I mean, I have 2 just sitting right here.
So.
Every loose pack that George has hurts my soul as a collector because I'm like, man, all those alt arts. Just sleep it.
Yeah, literally when I lost my playset of Ogre Ponds from my deck box in Baltimore, I was just like, George, let me just rip like 12 with like the half of a booster box lying in your living room right now. I'm sure I can like replenish my assets like by the time I get out of here. What a guy. But yeah, listen, everyone's checking with Omar. He's always posting cool stuff. Omar's always posting his deck list whenever he does compete at things every now and then. So yeah, Omar's great. Everyone go follow him on social media. He's the best. Everyone needs a friend like Omar. So that's gonna be it for this week's episode, folks. So stay tuned next week for another arousing edition of the Squawk and Seas podcast. See you guys next week. We'll talk about Sacramento then. Bye.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Oh.